Call this meeting to order. Roll call, Sam.
Mayor Trujillo.
Here.
Commissioner Campos.
Here.
Commissioner Gandy.
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Here.
And the minutes will show that Commissioner Bernard Fisher was gone.
Commissioner Campos will lead some prayer and pledge.
Would you join me in prayer, please? Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight in a spirit of gratitude and thanksgiving. We thank you, Lord, for watching over us, for sending us your blessings, Lord, and guiding us always in the right direction. We ask that you continue, Lord, to guide us where you want us to be and to help those in most need, especially within the community of Lovington. Thank you for allowing us to meet, Lord, and still praise you at the same time, Lord. We ask that you always keep us in mind and that you enlighten the path where you want us to walk, Lord, and not necessarily where we want to walk. Let it be your will, not ours. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with one change, that we delete the closed session, as we will not be going into closed session today due to the fact that Commissioner Bernard is not present.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to consider the minutes of January 13, 2020.
Second.
Got a motion is second. Any discussion? Got a motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Going on commissioners and staff report, White.
Nothing to report at this time, sir.
Any questions, Commissioner?
No, sir.
Gary?
If I may, your mayor and commission, our auditor agreed to be here the second meeting in February to give us our presentation on our annual audit for fiscal 19. That's all I have to report.
Is it unmodified at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Jane?
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Shannon?
Yes, early voting will begin on February 4th. And we'll be certifying the voting machines Friday at 10 o'clock, if anyone wants to attend that, at the Lee County Road Department.
Thank you, Shannon. Commissioner Sanchez?
I don't know if I told you the last time, but maybe if I did, I'll tell you now. I did something that I've never done before, so I confess. I turned 77 on January 19th, so that's just 73 years more to go till I'll complete my 150.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's going to be something real juicy. Everybody's listening like, okay, what did he confess it to?
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campos?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Gandy?
I have nothing.
Chief?
If you just mark your calendars, that Coffee with Cops will be February 20th at the Wellness Center. I'll announce it as we get closer.
So, thank you.
Maybe we can make that a workout with cops.
Sure. Come on.
Thank you. Chief?
Last meeting, we talked about the new station was going to have its inspection. That has been postponed for at least a couple more weeks. So they haven't finished out that inspection on that new station yet.
Okay. Commissioner Campos? Any questions? James?
Yes, sir. So we started the remodel of the concession area at the theater today. So our theater is going to be shut down for at least the next 10 days while they're doing the remodel on the concessions as well as plumbing, some electrical upgrades. So this is all being paid for through one of our capital outlay appropriations. So we're going to be posting different pictures. We're not closed forever. we're gonna stay on schedule so we can get this thing opened up, but it's actually gonna look really nice when it's done. In addition to that, kind of similar to Coffee with Cops, we're gonna be starting a new thing called Let's Talk Lovington, where we actually have all of our department heads available for the community to come in, visit with us, ask questions, also give us the chance to talk about the city. The first one will be on February 18th at 7:30 in the morning over at the Senior Center. And we, right now, we're looking at probably scheduling that about once a quarter, but of course the commissioners are invited to attend as well. But this is just another way to kind of do some outreach to the community in case they have questions.
Any questions? James, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
And, so all the new sidewalks are putting in on Avenue D?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who's gonna be responsible for maintaining them? I'm talking about weeds, if they get in between the cracks on the curb. Do we have any ordinances that state otherwise, or?
Our ordinance, Mayor Commissioner, actually, our ordinance is the property owner is actually responsible for everything from the curb on back.
Okay. I just like to keep it clean.
Yes, sir.
Once it gets put in place.
It's my understanding that those blank areas that still have dirt, that's actually going to be filled in with the colored and stamped concrete later. So we'll still have the expansion joints, but there will be a lot less open exposed dirt for weeds to collect.
Down by the MAC, they've already started doing some of that stamping.
Mhm.
I saw this afternoon, so it looks pretty good, actually.
Good. Good.
So it's kind of a brownish color.
Patrick?
No report, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to, public comment. State your name.
My name is Cesar Barber. I live over in District 1 off of 805 South 5th Street. I want to pass that around to the commissioners, that's what it's about. I am here concerning the property that is just east of my house. It's a vacant lot. It's been vacant since I moved to Lovington in 1999. And in the letter, I tried getting a hold of the original property owner multiple times because I would get tickets saying my yard is dirty and it has weeds since 1999. So I would reach out to the property owner, never got any response. And then in May 30th, 2006, the owner passed away and the city became the owners of the property. They inherited the property. A few more times after that, I got more warnings to clean up my property because it's full of weeds and to maintain it better. And I invested some money into the property knowing it's not mine. I had some mesquite bushes removed and I still maintain it to this day. And the amount that you're looking at there is what my salary is per hour plus maintenance fees for the property. And I'm just going back to when the city became property because I kind of can't go after a dead person for paying me to clean their yard. I did call the city twice to ask how much it would cost to have y'all come and clean it. And I even called 3 other, like Fernandez Lawn Services. I never got a reply, so that's why I'm using my hourly wage plus gas and maintenance for my equipment that I use to clean the property. What it is since they keep saying it's my property, well, I'd like to make it my own. So instead of, in lieu of charging the city of Lovington $17,000 for the many years of property maintenance I've done, I'd like to see if I can get the property. And that's the gist of it. Any questions concerning the,
And all I gotta say, I don't know who you work for, but man, I got the wrong job. $45 an hour. But I guess, hand it off to James and see what he has to say about it.
I'll get with Patrick,
Yeah.
sir, and find out what we can and can't do. I know that, when was the last time that you got a warning?
I haven't had one in like about 3 years because I've kept it pretty good since then. I mean, but about every other month I go out there, and if not, de-weed it, at least run my lawnmower, pick up trash. When my kid's in trouble, they do it. But according to my watch, it takes me 3 miles to cut it. I only have a little simple push more.
And also, I know that whenever I spoke with Mr. Cornell about it, it was about 4 years ago when we talked about it. There is a potential encroachment issue where a piece of, and this would take a survey to address that. So
It's about 5 to 10 feet of my air conditioner is actually on city property now. I've had to relay new water line and gas line, which ran through city property because my house is pushed that far back. And it just makes it difficult for when I have to do anything like that on city property.
I'll visit with Patrick and come up with some solution for it.
I just had a quick question, Mr. Coronel. Did you have an agreement with the city, a contract, or is this just something you decided to do on your own?
No, like I said, like James said, I brought it up to the city 4 years ago. Never got a response. He said he was going to talk to Patrick then. Never got a response. So I'm like, well, you know, people charge other people to clean their property. I mean, I've tried asking for the property more than once. I never got a response, so that's why I decided to write up the letter and say I'm going to charge for the services I've rendered to the city.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, we appreciate that and have James look into it.
Thank you very much for your
Yes,
time.
sir. Thank you. Anybody else? Want to introduce you? Do you want to introduce? Yes, sir, did you want to introduce you?
I'm Todd Bailey, the other new son, the study report for Cedar Intervention, who's going to be covering Lovington City Government and Lovington Leaders is going on. So I'm just here to be a little bridge between you guys and just, say hi, it's been a while. Hi.
Thank you, Todd. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Okay, moving on to non-action items. James?
Mayor, Commissioners, our first non-action item tonight is just a discussion of our 2020 census. We were scheduled to have a census somebody who works for the U.S. Census Bureau here to make this presentation, but they have not arrived. So essentially our plan going forward, of course, is to utilize all city staff and, of course, the city commissioners to help spread the word about the importance of the U.S. Census. Of course, Census Day starts on April 1st, and they're really going to be saturating the area with information. We're starting our social media campaign later this week. I've already spoke to a couple of folks about some video segments that we're going to be producing. But at the same time, everybody needs to watch in their mail in March, because the Census Bureau will be sending out the cards that have your specific information for you to be able to do your census online. And they're really stressing a lot of online submissions this go around. You still will be able to do the paper submission, call it in by telephone. If you don't fill out the census, census workers will arrive at your house and assist you to make sure that everyone is counted. I believe the statistic that we received from the last census was only 64% of all of Lee County was counted. So if you really look at the population of Lee County, which at that time was, I want to say, between 70 and 75,000, do the math. And for every person that's counted, we're looking at just under $4,000 in potential federal and state funding that we lose out on. So everybody does count in Lovington, everybody does count in Lee County, so we just need to get the word out there that the information's secure. It's not going to be shared. One thing that we learned was that the information that they collect today, the public will only have access to actual numbers, but as far as the information of where you live today, it won't be released for another 70 years. So it's very secure. There's some pretty hefty fines if anybody releases that particular information. So you don't need to be afraid as far as people tracking you, being able to find where you're at. It's totally safe, it's totally secure, and it's simply just trying to get the accurate count, because we do benefit from that. I would stand for any questions.
Any questions about that? Thank you, Jim.
The next item that I do have is a discussion of a policy that we would like to present unless there's any major changes or recommendations based on today's discussion, but a uniform policy of providing utility adjustments. You can see in your packet under the policy, we follow this, but our ordinance actually does get very specific as far as why we can give adjustments. This just actually makes it a little bit more uniform, and we actually have tracking. This was an item, it was not a material weakness in our audit, but this was one of our potential audit findings that they wanted to see more controls on this particular issue. So in reviewing the policy, I apologize, I'm trying to get this thing to pull back up for me. But whenever you look at our policy, essentially, there's only 5 reasons why we would be able to justify an adjustment. One is there is a leak. We already have a provision in our municipal code as far as how we address leaks. If a customer discovers a leak and they go to the expense to make sure that it's repaired, we basically average the water consumption and sewer consumption over the last 6 months, and then we can adjust their bill accordingly. So that way they may not get, they have a $2,000 water bill, but they've proven that they have fixed this leak. We can adjust it that way. There's also errors. Everyone is human. There could be a meter error. There could be an error in posting the account, a software glitch. We also, at the request of the solid waste contractor, in the event, since our solid waste contractor is now going to be handling customer service, if somebody has a missed pickup, Waste Management would then contact us to advise us of any credits on the person's account. At that point, then you have approvals through the lead utility clerk, and then of course the office manager, which that would be attached to that particular account. That way, if we do have an adjustment on a water bill, we do have accountability and tracking as to why and who authorized that particular adjustment.
Any questions about that? Thank you, James.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to action items. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2020-005, third quarter lodgers tax event funding.
Second. A motion second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, we did meet, the Lodgers Tax Board did meet. We are seeing a decrease in lodgers tax, but we believe that is due to the fact that some folks are living or actually utilizing some of our lodging accommodations for longer than periods of 30 days. And if an individual stays in one of our qualified a hotel or even an RV park for longer than 30 days, you're exempt from having to pay that 5% lodgers tax. We did see a change in ownership of one of the hotels, and for the past 3 months, their collections, even though looking at them, they're full, their revenue reported for lodgers tax is decreased. Gary and his staff will be conducting an audit as authorized by law to make sure that we are receiving our lodgers tax proceeds correctly. However, we did meet, and they are only recommending a total of $7,800 for event funding this particular quarter, which would run from January 1st to March 31st. This would still allow for a substantial amount of funding potentially for our fourth quarter, which is our event-heavy quarter. It covers half of our summer events.
Any questions about that? Liz, cut. Had a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2020-006, approval of the New Mexico Main Street Capital LA Grant Agreement.
Second.
A motion second, James.
Mayor, Commissioners, this will allow the mayor to execute the grant agreement that we had discussed at the previous city commission meeting. It's $40,000 in state funds that can be utilized. or that will be utilized for the design, development, and installation of wayfinding in the downtown area. There is a match requirement, which the match is actually being provided for through another grant, agreement that we have with Lee County.
Any further questions by the board? Had a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we consider resolution 2020-007, award of employment, physical bid.
Second.
A motion second, James.
Mayor Commissioners, we did go out to bid as the 3-year agreement did expire. We received only one response, and that was from ACC Compliance and Safety, who is actually the current vendor. They have put in a bid for non-DOT, or for DOT physical, $65 per physical, non-DOT for $55. This is a little bit of an increase. We used to pay $40 and $65, but we're recommending that we award this to ACC Compliance and Safety.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
James, it shows in our summary that, is ACC does they go by another name?
Areola Chiropractic Center.
Okay. Because I see DATCO Services Corporation.
I believe, sir, you were looking at the drug and alcohol screen.
Okay, I got you, sir. Okay, I see,
That's the next one.
I got you. Very good, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, had a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2020-008, award of the employee drug and alcohol testing.
Had a motion second, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, we did have 2 respondents who were qualified. We actually had 3 individuals submit bids. However, one was deemed non-responsive as it was received over 2 hours late, so we could not open it. However, as you can see, DATCO and Vanguard both supplied bids. Vanguard is actually the current vendor, and we are recommending that we award this to Vanguard for your non-DOT and DOT drug screens, which we do for pre-employment as well as reasonable suspicion, breath alcohol screening, and then in the event of an post-accident testing, that's why we do have an after hours per hourly rate. So we're recommending Vanguard be awarded this by this resolution.
Like to amend
Sure.
Oh, sorry, I'm not paying attention here. I'd like to send that and amend it with the approval of Vanguard Health and Safety Services.
Second.
Had a
Or
motion.
you made the second.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Had a motion second, any other questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Where's DATCO from?
DATCO is actually a company out of California. However, they utilize, I believe it's Legacy Safety and Consulting as a third-party collection site.
Okay. I will recuse myself from voting on that since I'm employed by Legacy Safety.
And if there's no other questions, have a motion second. I guess Arthur, you want to second that? Arthur will second. Had motion made by Commissioner Gandy, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
This one, second.
Ayes have it.
Perfect.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2020-009, approval of second quarter DFA reports.
Second.
Motion second, Gary.
Your Mayor and Commission, it's that time when we have to provide our quarterly reports to the Department of Finance. So essentially, I'm just giving you an update on what we're providing them and the information that we're required to give them. On our first slide, we're showing basically the summary of the report, which is really what they focus on too.
So Gary, hang on a second, I'm
Yes.
confused here, because on my computer it says second quarter, on the screen it says third quarter.
It should be saying second
It
quarter.
should be
Just
second.
want to make sure it's,
I'm glad you mentioned that. But anyway, as you look at the first page in the summary page, one of the things I'm pointing out is the fact that we're required to maintain a certain amount of reserves. And in this particular case, we also need to make sure that we maintain positive cash balances and funds. So if a fund does not have the monies, then we need the general fund to pick up any slack. So that's what the first page is really showing us, are the fact that we have some funds that are in the negative right now. On a positive note, we're anticipating some reimbursements to recoup those negatives. However, some of them have been delayed, and we've had complications, especially with the ambulance fund, on getting all of the medical things approved. I could defer that to the city manager to give you better detail on that. But the second page just shows what I'm really going to be giving the Department of Finance, showing them a transfer of basically $713,000 to cover the negative losses, to keep those funds in the positive for our report to the Department of Finance. And then lastly, I have all the detail line by line item on everything, but I didn't think you would enjoy going through the several pages of budget lines. Do you have any questions?
So all the negatives are, we're planning to get reimbursed for every one of them, is that correct?
From what I understand, yes.
Okay. All right. So once that happens, we'll be fine, correct?
Yes.
It'll
And
reflect on the report, we just can't submit it as such at this point, right?
we can't submit it, the raw data, without showing the general fund picking up the slack.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we do want to make sure that we're at positive balances at June 30th on all those, which it looks like we should be able to accomplish that. I'm kind of jumping ahead when I say this, but where I see you're looking at some of the line item detail, a couple of the items that are worth pointing out is that we're going to have to make a budget adjustment for what we're paying for the fire station. We neglected to budget the, I want to call it grant funds, but that's not it, the bond funds that we were using to help pay for the construction of the fire station. So we have over $2 million of an increase in budget that we're going to have to do, but that's coming with the next agenda. But that's one of the items that's worth noting in all the detail. Another one, and I'll address this later because I want to address it when I have some other budget items to address, and it's related to I want to say it was the 17th Street. I can't remember which street it was, but there was some road work that we did on, no, I believe it was the Jefferson section. But my point is we needed to increase the budget for that as well. But I did not include that in this budget adjustment thing yet because I still have some more refining to do on that. I learned from the Department of Finance on my last quarter that they didn't really want me to adjust every single line item. They said, we want to see it, but you don't have to adjust every one. I'm like, thank you.
There's no further discussion. Had a motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider resolution 2020-10, approval of fiscal year 20 budget adjustments.
Second.
Motion second.
If I may, your mayor and commission, you can see on this, the only adjustments that I've made is to the fire station budget to increase that, to show that we really did use the bond funds and the expenditures for the fire station. We'd originally only put there what we were going to pay from the city funds. And then the other items I have on there are that the bond funds, while we had them being held by a third party, we're collecting some interest, and I need to show the DFA that we did budget to receive that interest.
There's no other discussion. Had motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we consider resolution 2020-011, vacation of alleyways within ZMS RV Mobile Home Park, that's 22 West Avenue Q, Lovington, New Mexico.
Second.
James?
Mayor and Commissioners, the owners of ZMS RV Park, which is located over on West Avenue Q, actually in the area of our youth center, are requesting the vacation of some alleyways that were platted but never developed. This is so that they can eventually expand their operations over a couple of different phases. This is their request for vacations. We currently have Avenue P, which is undeveloped. At this particular point, this block is the youth center. I have an aerial of this for better reference, but there's two platted alleys that do not contain utilities, nor is there a requirement to have public utility access for those alleys. They did request the vacation of an alley that's not developed directly to the east of the youth center. However, that actually currently has a 2-inch water line that is in use. So to look at this particular, here is our youth center. This was the alley the alley that does need to remain in place. The other two alleys are right here as well as right here. Our Planning and Zoning Board did meet and recommend that we go ahead and vacate those alleys since they're really of no further public use.
So they are planning to extend that all the way up to behind Alston's there?
Avenue O, yes, sir. They own that property.
There's no other discussion. Had motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we consider accounts payable.
Second.
A motion second. Gary?
Your Mayor and Commission, I have a list before you of all the payables. I didn't see anything really worth mentioning, so if you have any questions, I'm available to give you answers.
Battle Energy?
Battle Energy, I'm glad you mentioned that. What I have is it says for the fire and police departments, they need some kind of monitors.
Oh, okay.
That Estacado credit union?
Yes, those are normally not on our payables, but those are deductions from employees' paychecks.
Overdrive?
Overdrive? Let me look at that one. I have to look at the details, sorry.
It was $3 grand. Just don't remember it before.
Oh, that's related to the library. It has to do with their online subscription for accessing different books.
Gary, the 36,000 to taxation and revenue. I mean, I know it's taxes, but what is it derived from?
In this particular case, it's a payroll-related scenario. We normally don't have this on our payables list, but it just got caught in our printing of the report. So after each payroll, we pay the federal withholdings from all the employees.
Gross receipts
Oh, I'm sorry, this was the gross receipts tax
with tax withholding.
with the tax withholding.
Speaking of, on a side note, Gary, how is our GRT?
Well, fortunately, this last particular month, it went up about $100,000. So I want to say our net to the general fund was over 700,000, was it, James? I don't
Yes.
remember the exact amount.
Just to the general fund alone, it was over 700.
So it was a nice increase. I liked it.
Has our GRT been meeting our expectations?
It has. It's meeting our budget and actually exceeding it.
This is a nickel down, but I just don't remember Relentless,
Relentless?
599.
I don't see a, oh, here it is. Yeah, that's one I should defer over to the police department. All it says is criminal interdict or something.
How much was it?
599.
Those were the state statute books.
Oh,
You should have said in pursuit of justice. That sounded good.
Is there any other questions?
Pursuit.
Second,
Pursuit of justice books.
and a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a final motion?